So what I was gonna say was earlier when I said, I almost changed my mind is after, so you tracking keywords, impression share, and click-through rate, so on and so forth, over time before you take action. Are you actually able to see any consistency in any of these fluctuations?
Are you talking before we take an action?
Um, yes. I mean, of course, ultimately you want to follow it through. If you see consistency, you're going to follow it through with action. But what I'm curious to know is, you look at data. Data is all over the place. It's up and it's
Yeah.
down and it's up and it's down, and then and you don't know. So I want to know, do you actually see consistencies, or are you at some point saying, you know what, okay, we've seen it twice, it's enough because it's
Yeah.
not good. So what is it that you see out there?
We do see consistency, and that's what's interesting. Like, we are taking such a narrow approach where we are looking for consistency. We find where that consistency is. So what subset of keywords is there consistency on? And we double down there. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do. So to your point, a lot of the data is all over the map. There is not consistency across a number of terms. What you start to uncover is that there is across maybe 10% of your terms, and they may have the highest relevancy in terms of average sales price. So that may be where we're most applicable, where most of our top competitive brand terms are showing up. But what we can do is over time find consistency and then start tracking improvement week over week on that subset.
I see. So what I was thinking was, you know, so this is not like what Freud concluded. So do you know that they asked Freud about the conclusion that he came to out of all his studies about women. He said, after years of careful study, he said, I found the answer to every question about women except one. And that question is, what does a woman actually want? So, so in your case, I'm thinking, is this data, the fluctuation, is there any consistency? Are you finding any consistency? So what you're telling me is, yes, we are finding some consistency, except that it has to be very narrow.
Very narrow. Very, and that's really what we've found is driving the best results, right? You're not going to be everything to everybody. You're not going to be the perfect fit on maybe the top five terms with the highest search volume, right? You might not be as applicable in those spaces, but if you can uncover where you are, craft the journey to be more relevant to that subset, and then also have that align with the highest level KPI for the brand, that's where you start to really see the flywheel spin.
Okay. So when you say narrow, you're talking about the number of search terms that will give
Yep.
you that consistent increase. So what happens, let's say that you narrowed it down to 5, 6 keywords and you are completely dominating. You made the tweaks to your content, the picture, or whatever, and you are completely dominating on those, and it's generating X in terms of revenue. And then you plateau. So what happens then?
So in that exact situation, we'd start prospecting. So we'd start going out and we'd start the cycle over again. And we'd try to figure out how can we add another subset onto what we've already optimized for. And then to your point, what you're tracking week over week and month over month is how much are we seeing improvements in this new prospecting acquisition oriented campaign, right, approach that we're running? And are we seeing decreases in where we kind of optimized? What's the delta there? And are we seeing more gains than we are decreases across the board? So what's the net improvement overall? But the where this gets a little bit complex is we're tracking a lot of on-site action as well for the brand. And so we may see external factors start to fluctuate when we start adding in new strategies on Amazon. And then we have to make the decision of, were those strategies worth it based on what's going on for the brand as a whole?
I see. Yeah, because it becomes a matter of input versus
Exactly.
output. So if you are increasing the input, obviously the output is gonna go up, and then you can't just compare it to another time where you've had no input in the first place. So okay, and the on-site being your website.
The owned mostly Shopify sites. Exactly.
Yeah. So you are tracking your on-site activities against what the results are on Amazon. Okay. All right. So so this ultimately, so what you are really doing at the end of the day is that click-through rate and the conversion rate that you described as your main KPIs that you are tracking. You are driving those by honing in keyword by keyword. Are you doing that at SKU level, or are you always sticking to brand?
So it depends on the assortment. If there's a that kind of idiosyncratic assortment of products, we do it on the SKU level. If there is not, we do it on the brand level.
Okay. So, and again, at SKU level, usually you have variations, right?
Exactly.
So, what would you say if you had a number of different products doing it at brand level? Would that be good enough for you, or would you then want to say, no, I want to do this on at SKU level?
I would start for a while at the brand level, right? The brand level will give you enough data for a pretty considerable amount of time. And when you start digging into SKU level, it's for that last, in our opinion, that last maybe 15%.
Yeah. Plus, your search term impression share report is not at SKU level anyway. It's giving you per
No.
keyword. Yeah.
And you're then having to go in and basically segment those keywords, which we do it once in the beginning. So we basically break out the keywords by product group, and then we build our own sheet to then pull in all subsequent data and apply it to the correct products.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see this being extremely valuable, and SKU level will only be an incremental gain for you. So if you do it, and making it at brand level will be much more simple. Otherwise, it just goes crazy with
It gets
SKU
hard.
by SKU. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
gets confusing.